As Lucille, the Lightbringer, begins her descent from on high, the afternoon patrol enters the home stretch of their routine. The plains of Hellfield provided a buffer zone between the state, final superpower of the world, and the uncivilized wilds beyond. This once prosperous world had self-destructed as the spectrum of their star suddenly redshifted. With the death of so many plants and animals, the food web collapsed. The needs of the many demanded that the state prune itself, trim the fat, and only support that which made it strong. Welcome to the Polyverse. To be notified when we post more great stories, press the subscribe button. Tonight's episode is from the Dystopic universe, written and voiced over by D.L. Morris. The five-man team, scouting the outer reaches of their land, drove their three-wheeled ATVs across the prairie of recently perfected, deep purple grass. This shoulder-high pasture waved silently in the light breeze as they motored along, surveying their neutral zone for signs of subversion. As far as one could see, previous op paths crisscrossed the meadow. In the distance, part of the vista just didn't look right. "Hey, what's that impression in the grass at the base of the hill 465? Asked the patroller at the back left of the delta. "Dagger 2, maintain comms discipline," returned the leader at the apex of the V. "That location was reported clear by morning patrol. We have no data." The identically dressed soldiers were among the best scouts in the area. They knew the lay of the land better than the backs of their hands. If something was amiss, they would know it. After a moment, he requested permission to investigate the glitch. "Dagger 2, proceed with Dagger Bravo on recon run. Front pair and I will cover your approach from Hill 463. Theta Dagger copy?" she asked her team. "Dagger 1 copies. Dagger Alpha copies. Dagger 2 copies. Dagger Bravo copies." Once they had all confirmed that they knew what they were about to do, Lead ordered them to commence. As one voice, they confirmed and went into action. The tips of the V broke off and angled towards the crop circle. The shorter V angled towards a higher ground to make certain they were not being snuck up upon. Shortly before they reached the anomaly, the pair stopped and dismounted, drawing handguns just to be safe. "What do you think we'll find, Eric?" asked Dagger Bravo on the private channel they had as they approached. "Well, Sue, if we knew what was there would be no need to investigate, would there?" he returned matter-of-factly. "You're so mean, Eric," she teased him as she pushed aside the grass. "What is it, E?" She pushed past him and stopped in horror. Lying in the middle of the circle, lying on their sides, head to foot, was a pair of platinum blondes. "They're naked!" she grasped. "I see that, Sue," he returned, then switched back to the Dagger's main frequency. "Lead, this is 2. We found a pair of females, state unknown." "Sue!" As she pushed past him, holstering her handgun, she now knelt by the closest of the people in an attempt to figure out if and how she could help them. She pulled off her helmet. Her curly rust-red hair, matted down by sweat, was in disarray. "Dagger 2, maintain comms discipline," Lead admonished again. "Give me a good sit rep." "Lead, apologies." Eric glanced at Susan, who had moved on to the second person. "We can see no evidence of the path other than our approach. No detectable struggle. It's like they just appeared. Susan is doing triage." 2. Lead copies all. Secure the area. We will circumnavigate the area, assuming no further discrepancies. We will close in on your location. Maintain open comms channel. Moments later. "Give me an update," Maria Christine, Dagger Lead, ordered as she drove into the base's perimeter. As they had been commanded, they established a base camp and established a video link with Central. They had brought their ATVs closer and even documented the scene. Maria stopped where the other vehicles were and pulled off her helmet. Hot as it was, she was not sweating at all. She never did. "Ma'am, we photographed this scene in accordance with standard operations procedure. Took samples and sent them off to Force for analysis," Eric reported to her as she pulled off her helmet and followed him down. "Other than taking samples and adjusting their positions to be more comfortable and making them decent, we did not touch them. Any identity or other tat marks?" "No, ma'am. Their skin is unblemished, not marked by any way. Their skin is so pale, but they can't have spent enough time in the sun to have gotten here on their own." Eric was tall and rugged. Even helmet head couldn't diminish his handsomeness. Maria was tall and sinewy. She was a thinker as opposed to his doer mentality. As they approached, they discussed the situation. Susan sat down and back of her own ATV, monitoring the vidcoms, checking and updating their files and flags on ForceNet. She also used this time to chat with her friend in the Watch Integration Center. "Lead," she called, jumping up. "Watch Command requests you on VidChat." "Thank you, Bravo," Maria returned, standing from her examination of the closest mystery woman. Theta Dagger Lead, recording as persisted, The senior watch supervisor was a thin, chiseled, raven-haired man. "Ah, Theta Lead. It seems you have uncovered quite the conspiracy," he smiled. "Well, sir," she shrugged, buying precious seconds to process the statement. "It appears so, and mystery is not conducive to security." "No, it is not," he nodded sagely. "We just received the verification that all ID searches came up negative. Cursory intelligence checks can't account for the appearance of these females." "Keeping our citizens safe is our primary objective," Maria offered, "but these aren't citizens, and we really can't waste resource on non-citizens. Not after all those others have so blatantly abused our goodwill." The debate was cut short as a voice off-screen informed the watch supervisor of a Level 4 tie-in request. "Proceed, Wallace," he nodded to the unseen voice. The screen cut to black, then returned with two windows. Maria recognized her supervisor, but not the regal woman in the other window. Her long brown hair was shiny and youthful. This was the hair of an important woman. "Good afternoon, Undersecretary Immigration," he greeted her, almost imperceptible swallow. "You honor us." Maria's mind threatened to go blank. Someone so high on the totem seldom communicated directly with lowly scouts. The reasoning would not coalesce in her mind. "Senior Watch Supervisor Decker, Scout Group Theta Dagger Lead Christine, light of reason shine on us all," she began formally, as one would expect of one of her stature. "As you are on task, I will dispense with the usual pleasantries." "At your leader, ma'am," Decker inclined his head, as did Maria. "Ma'am, if I may." "You wonder why I'm contacting you directly," she arched an eyebrow. "Forced immigrations is high-level event. Rescue of unconscious persons falls within that parlance, and you are on task. This makes it a time-sensitive matter. Formality is suspended in such situations. With global economy in shambles and a known amount of resource to use in an already fragile economy, rescue outside the borders, especially of non-citizens, was a luxury that the government just could not afford to take lightly. The only reason such an act would even be considered was if it was for safety of the state, and that kind of abstract reasoning was not easy to account for. Mystery was not conducive to safety. As such, it had to be taken into account in decisions of the lesser of two evils. On one side, money and possibility of counterproduction. On the other hand, they are people and they may or may not have information on possible dangers to the state. There was no clear-cut answer to the problem. "Thank you for your bluntness, Undersecretary. Your gratitude, while unnecessary, is accepted, Watch Soup. With your leave, I would like to communicate directly with Theta Lead." "I have no objections, ma'am." "Thank you, Watch Soup," she inclined her head. "Theta Lead, what is your impression of the females?" "Undersecretary, I have little experience evaluating people, and they have been unconscious the whole time." She struggled with the frog in her throat and sudden dizziness. "So, as far as I can tell, they're in good health, other than unconscious thing, and at the very least, I guess they could be prime breeding stock." The Undersecretary nodded after a moment of consideration and made a note on a page in front of her. "Thank you for your candor, Theta Lead. In the interest of efficiency, it's not my place to make decisions on the best use of recon resources, but as it does take my say-so to do, I will give you my verbal to rescue them under forced immigration protocol, should that be deemed necessary. Light of reason guide you." With that, she hit a button and her window disappeared. The screen reverted to normal as Maria and Decker stared at each other for a moment. "Well, she did dispense with formalities, didn't she?" Decker finally cleared his throat. "Lead, you have a better picture of the situation out there. What is your assessment of the way?" Her head bobbled a moment as she considered her words. Well, sir, we have the ability to establish a temp camp, but the mystery that brought us here represents an unnecessary risk. I really don't think that loss could be recuperated. Very well, what of your patrol? Front pair has finished the op. Good. Have you yourself and back pair conduct a recovery. We'll have med team meet you at Aux Gate 6. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed our amazing tale. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe for more great adventures from the Polyverse.